Hello and welcome. Today we're going to talk about overcoming imposter syndrome. So, if this is something that you struggle with, stay tuned. Okay, let's just dive right in. First and foremost, I've got my notes here. Me and my notes. Because I really want to break this down. I really want it to make sense. And it also helps me stay on track because I channel a lot of information and I can just go. So, first and foremost, we really need to understand what causes imposter syndrome. We hear it. It's like, yeah, I feel like an imposter. I'm afraid to show up. I'm afraid to talk about this. I'm afraid to put myself out there. And it usually wraps around this little package of imposter syndrome. So, understanding imposter syndrome can be very helpful when it comes to overcoming it. It's kind of like if we're trying to get a diagnosis for something, right? It's a lot easier to repair our car when we know what's wrong with it, right? We have the diagnosis versus we're just like, keep hearing this clunking sound, or it's not starting very well, or, I know there's a problem, but I don't really know what's causing it. So let's break this down and look at the causes of this. One of the first things that comes to mind when we're thinking about imposter syndrome is this belief that, like, can I really do this? It's this self gaslighting. It's so good. How many times have you had a very powerful, profound spiritual experience where you have helped someone, where you have channeled information for someone, where you have gotten a download for a program that would be amazingly transformative, where you have had visions, where you have woken up from a prophetic dream and then that exact thing happens, you hear it on the news. How many times has something like this happened? And then we self gaslight and diminish ourselves. Did I make that up? Did that really happen? Is that real? Can you relate to this? I would love to hear in the comments if this is something that you can relate to. I know for me, it used to be something I would really, really question and think, like, am I just like kind of wackadoo? Like, am I just making this up? Is this real? Right? So we have those moments. So, what I want to invite you to do in those moments is, instead of gaslighting yourself and trying to convince yourself it's not real, to actually start to embody that gift. Start telling yourself, oh, that's so cool. I love that. I love that that happened. I'm so excited about getting better at that. I'm looking forward to more experiences like this. Of course, that was real. Of course, I made an impact. Of course, that dream was what I felt like it was. It was a sign, it was a vision, it was something. Of course, it was. Okay. We have to be mindful as we go through that, though, that we also release attachment. I hear this so much when we come through our spiritual journeys. What does it mean? What does it mean? What does it mean? Again, here's that thing. That's what's going to create an imposter feeling, because we're going to place an attachment on it. And then if it doesn't play out exactly how we think it should, based on the attachment that we formed with the event, that's when we're going to doubt ourselves again. We're kind of setting ourselves up to fail. So when we have these experiences, we need to be in observation mode of them. Just say, oh gosh, that was cool. What does it mean? I'm not sure, but I just got some really interesting information. I mean, I get information all the time about politics, about what's going on in all of these different realms. And I used to feel like, oh, I've got to do something about this. I've got to act on this. I've got to whatever. But just because we get the information doesn't necessarily mean we have to do anything. It's just information that we now have. It's information that we can allow ourselves to assimilate so that we can make better decisions, so we can have more kindness for other people. Maybe we walk by someone and we see what they go through at home, the abuse in their marriage. That happens to me a lot. I walk by somebody and I get a flash of what's happening in their home life. So what does that mean, right? It just means that I'm gifted. Okay. So start telling yourself that. It just means I'm gifted. It just means I'm a woman and I'm tuning into my psychic intuitive abilities. That's what it means. The angel numbers, the synchronicities. It means I am a woman and I am tuning into my intuitive abilities. I am gifted. That is what it means. So start telling yourself this and don't have any other kind of attachment to it, right? This will be very helpful when it comes to releasing kind of tendrils around this idea of an imposter. I'm an imposter. Can we see that? Can we see that if we're placing these specific expectations, that it's going to create a very challenging setup for us? Because if for some reason something doesn't play out exactly how we wanted it to, let's be real, a lot of times we're wanting something to mean something, especially if it's like twin flame or whatever it is. We gotta make it make sense. We gotta fit it into this box, right? Versus it could be as simple as it's just what it is. Okay. Sometimes that Freudian statement, sometimes a cigar is just a cigar, right? Okay. What it means is that we're gifted. What it means is that we have abilities that we're tuning into. I do want to tap into something a little bit. I see this not only with my clients, but just in general, where many of us are really into astrology. We're really into, we like listening to other people's readings and things like that. I really want to lovingly caution you from trying to make those mean something more than what they mean. So a lot of times we'll meet someone or we have an expectation of a partner or a potential client or something, and we look at how the stars align with it, or we have these random readings come across our feed and they're saying, oh yes, there's this special thing, or there's this is going to happen, and you're going to get that promotion, or your dream man is going to fall into your lap in 3 hours, all of these different things. And then we're trying to figure out how to assimilate that into our experience. This is where we can kind of find ourselves getting a little bit into trouble, okay? Because we're trying to make it fit into something. For example, let's say we're looking at, I've been guilty of this, so I'll use myself as an example. I know a lot of other people have done this. They've told me they've done this, but this is my personal example. But we meet a guy and we immediately want to figure out what their birth date is so that we can compare their chart to ours. Y'all, tell me you've done this. I know you have. I know some of you have. Okay, maybe you're a masculine watching this. Like, that might not be as much that thing, but this is a thing. Like, the feminine's like, oh, are we soulmates? Are they my twin flame? Let me compare charts, and then certain things will match up, and it'll be like, oh, this is good for this is good for this, and we're automatically like, and we're married. When in reality, it could be that they have a very different role, though it'll still play out as a way that is like beautiful and helps us connect more into experiencing unconditional love, etc. Like what kind of karma that we have with this person. So it's going to look how it looks. So detaching all of this and like trying to make stuff look a certain way to go with our own agenda, this is a big part of what creates excuse me, it's been rainy, so my allergies are acting up a little bit, but this is what creates a lot of that imposter syndrome, because we'll do that. We'll attach to something because it's how we want it to look and how we want it to play out, and then when it doesn't, I had it all wrong. I can't trust myself. I had it all wrong. And it's not that we had it wrong. It's that we were allowing, and I'm saying this with love, wounded parts of ourselves and our ego to tell us that it was something that it wasn't. So there's a relationship work that we need to do in that. It's going to build trust within ourselves. This is why I teach the observation mode. We stay in observation mode. We don't try to force something. We don't try to make it be something. If it's meant to be, it will be. It will be. If that person is truly your soulmate and you're meant to live your life with them, it's going to happen. So we don't have to force it to happen. We don't need to make sure that we learn their schedule and that we're at the same coffee shop as them coincidentally every day, or we're hitting the gym at the same time as them every day, right? And we don't need to try to manipulate circumstances to the point where we start ignoring red flags to try to make it be something it's not. This is one of the biggest ways that we start to not trust ourselves. So I really, really want to invite you to start surrendering into flow and start allowing for things to play out how they're meant to play out. If we can go in with detachment, I mean, this is a spiritual thing. Being able to be detached from the outcome and remain in observation when things come into our experience, we will learn the lesson faster. We will have the outcome faster. We will grow and we will stop playing out karmic loops. The karmic loops are caused by ego and by our wounded self. Okay? So if we can stop allowing those to, hey, let's make this be something, then we're able to stay in that observation mode and allow it to show us what it is. We could very well meet someone and we're like, gosh, I feel this kismet with them, like instant connection. But I'm going to stay in observation mode. And then we figure out within 2 or 3 weeks, oh, it's another narcissist. Oops. So there's something still in my frequency that's attracting that and that still feels attracted to that. Thank you, universe, for the feedback. I'm going to go back to work on healing that. Thank you, soul friend, for coming in and showing me that this is still in my vibration. We no longer have karma. You are free to move on with your experience. Because we didn't get attached. We didn't try to make it something and ignore the red flags, right? So maybe this time, because of that, we were able to stay neutral. We're then now able to, the next connection, we bear witness to it. So, well, this is interesting. Let's see how this plays out. 5 years later, we're happily married and living in a mansion, building amazing business together, right? But we have to just allow it to be and stop trying to force it so that these situations kind of end up blowing up in our face. I've talked about this before and just in like posts on my social media, but we'll hear this, right? Where it's like, well, there was all these synchronicities and there were all these signs and all these messages. So I want to tell you that those signs and those messages are communications from the universe to get your attention. They are not confirmation that we have found our dream partner or etc. That's not what that means. They're saying, hey, there's a karmic relationship here. Pay attention. So I hear this where it's like, well, I met this person and, all these things made sense. I mean, I hear this, I can't tell you how many discovery calls, client calls, readings I've done. It's like the same story. I met this person, all the signs were there, all the synchronicities were there. They turned out to be a narcissist again, and it all blew up in my face. Like, what happened? What happened is the universe was trying to get your attention with the synchronicities. It was not trying to confirm anything for you. We are the ones who placed the confirmation on those signs from the universe. That's not what the universe was doing. It was saying, hey, please pay attention to this. This is a karmic that you have attracted into your situation, into your life. There is a lesson here. And then we get to choose what we play out with them. Hey, Nancy here. Sorry to interrupt the video, but if you are feeling a connection to what we're talking about in this video, I really want to invite you to click the link below to apply for my Untangled program. This is a 12-week one-to-one program where you will work one-to-one with me or one of my certified practitioners to systematically go through and reprogram all of the memories that have implanted things like imposter syndrome, money blocks, etc. Okay, this is a really, really powerful and transformative program. So make sure to check out the link below so you can learn all about it and then apply to work with me or one of my practitioners. If you're really truly in a space where you're ready for massively transformative results and to have a quantum leap in your life, check out the link now. Do we repeat a lesson or do we not? But one of the best ways that we're going to overcome this imposter syndrome concept, especially when it comes to our businesses, and this can come from if you're not in business and you're just watching this like, this makes sense. This even comes from just our worthiness of being able to get a raise or have the partner that we want, etc. But we have to start learning to trust ourselves and to stop ignoring red flags because we're trying so hard to manipulate something into being something it's not meant to be. That is the most powerful way to overcome imposter syndrome. And it's probably something you have never been told. People are probably just saying, oh, just work on your confidence or work on your self-esteem or just, fake it till you make it. Just keep showing up and eventually it'll get easier, which is true. I will say that. We have to start showing up. But this is an essential, huge part of this. Okay. I have so many notes still, so I'm going to try to cut those down. That was like the main, most important. Okay. The second thing when it comes to imposter syndrome, especially for women. Okay. I'm sorry. This channel is mostly for the feminine, but masculines, you have feminine in you too. So if you're watching this, apply it where it fits. But as women, we are naturally receptive. So we'll hear people talk about, well, you have to open your heart. You have to become receptive, be open to receiving. Our natural state of being is being receptive. Okay. Let's break it down to pure physiology. Masculine gives, feminine receives. Okay. Like super, super basic energetics behind stuff. Okay. The womb welcomes the seed in to then nurture and create something. We are in a natural state of receptivity. The key when it comes to the receptivity is what vibration are we when it comes to receiving? Is that I am receptive to receive charity, or I am receptive to be paid? This is the key. This is the difference with that because we are receptive. We are receptive. And we have to look at this. And charity can look, I'm using that word because I feel like it's blanket enough that most will get where I'm going with this, hopefully. I apologize if I missed the mark. But when it comes to charity, it's like, I'm okay with someone else giving me these things. So this is a wound that I had personally worked on for a long time. I had been in this space of, well, I need a masculine to come in and provide for me. And by they buy the house, they provide, they pay the bills. And then I'm able to, do whatever else. And if that, that's fine. If some people want to do it that way. But what I realized is I was looking at that from a very wounded energy where it was like, it wasn't that I just wanted to have that dynamic, but I felt like I needed that dynamic because I couldn't do it myself. So in a way, I was looking for receiving from a charity aspect. Please take care of me because I can't take care of myself kind of vibe. Okay. So that is what I mean by charity. And so that can look lots of different ways. That can look like that, where it's like, okay, I only feel like the way that I could have money is if I marry into money or someone else is making the money. It could be that maybe we don't even feel worthy enough to have that level of support. And we struggle with even having a job. And then we're feeling like, okay, well, I really need to receive support in other ways. Okay. So this is a really strong invitation to take a look inside and say, where am I with my receiving vibration? It's almost like, just like with anything, right? There's a scale. Okay. Am I at the lowest of lows where it's like, I'm just not worthy of anything? And then it's like, well, bare minimum, I'm worthy enough for someone to take care of me, but we're still not in this space of I'm worthy to be paid. I'm not only worthy to receive support through a partner. I will go ahead and say very clearly, I am a huge fan of masculine, feminine, believing that a masculine should have the capability of provision, protection, those things. Whether or not a couple chooses how that looks or how that plays out, and if they're the main, that's up to them. This is part of the movement of the women's liberation, is we get to choose, right? And we get to choose what kind of dynamic we want to have. So make sure that no one is misunderstanding me here. I'm speaking from a space of energetics. Where are we energetically with our belief? We could very well be in a place where it's like, yeah, my husband loves to take care of me, but I still make a ton of money, but my husband still wants to pay for everything because he's the masculine and he wants to pay for everything. So he does. Cool. Whatever works for people. Those dynamics, we have to figure that out in our own personal relationship. All right, there we go. Hot button. I can feel where I walk into some danger zones. But we have to look at our energetics. So am I in a space of I can receive by just being taken care of, or I can receive by being paid for my services, for my power, that I deserve to be supported in that kind of way. This is very different. So if we're finding that we are in the space of, well, yeah, like I can have nice things because someone else has been able to provide them for me, but I'm terrified of going out and actually taking the steps to make the money to provide those kinds of things for myself, or I don't believe that I can. That's the energetics that we need to work on. That's the beliefs that we need to work on when it comes to the receptivity. That type of receptivity, we have receiving in the heart. We also have receiving in the womb. Okay. Receiving, generally, if we're able to receive from a charity aspect, again, I'm using that term loosely, that is the heart. Okay. That's the heart. Receiving, where I deserve to be paid by being in my power, that is the womb. So we're probably going to find that if we have experienced some type of violation or harm in that space, this is where we're going to be challenged with receiving money, because that violation most likely happened from the masculine, and money is a masculine energy. So we have to go to the root of that and heal what occurred there in order to make ourselves more open and receptive to having the masculine come in and support us. And that comes in the way of money supporting us. Interesting, right? We also have to understand our worth. Okay, I had an awesome interview with Julie Trich. Y'all can find that video here on my page on the channel. She had talked about in that video about when they go ahead and tell us what we're worth. Here's your worth. This is, that's what you're worth. Okay. When we start working our own businesses and there's not someone there to assign a level of worth to us, it's very challenging for most to determine, well, what is my worth? What worth do I have? What are my services worth? What is the transformation? So we have to make sure that we're getting into a place of understanding the worth. I mean, sometimes I hear of what certain people charge for certain services and I'm like, holy moly. But they have built up a community that feels that they are worth that price for that service. It's just like the difference between buying, it's like, just a basic, like a Ford and a Mercedes. What's the worth, right? What is it worth to the people that want it? So this is something we have to work on determining. What is my sense of worth? What do I believe that I'm worth to myself? What value, what contribution do I bring that makes me worth being compensated and being supported? Okay, so this is stuff we have to really work on. I wish I could dig in, but it's like that's one-to-one, that kind of stuff, like that mindset work. That is not something for just a video. Okay, but we can at least go ahead and start identifying and saying, okay, let me check in with this. Belly gut check, right? Let me check in. What's going on with this in my energetics? I see this. I recognize this. I can honor this. I can observe it without judgment and start getting ideas as to where I need to improve that sense of worth. Maybe it starts with taking better care of ourselves. Maybe it starts with, how do I feel when I look in the mirror? Do I look at someone and say, damn, yes? Or do I look at someone and say, gosh, these bags, I'm just looking so, I don't like my arms are too big. I don't like this. And when I sit, I hate how I roll. What are we doing? Where's our sense of love in ourself? That is going to affect how much we feel like we are worth when it comes to our work. Okay, so start working on that. Start investing in yourself by taking care of yourself with self-care. What are things that you can do that make you feel sexy, that make you feel inspirational, that make you feel elevated? What are things that you can start doing now for yourself that in your own personal eyes is going to raise your value? Start there. Okay. The next kind of subsection, I don't even know where we're going, but how many, 5, whatever. The next thing I want to go into with my notes is, in order to build confidence with our belief in ourselves to overcome imposter syndrome, we have to start creating social proof. This is a very interesting concept because a lot of people say, well, I haven't really started, or I don't have a ton of clients yet, so I don't have a ton of social proof. No one wants to do my sessions because I don't have any social. Often I see women fall kind of into this trap of, well, I'll just give away services. I'll just try to, ask people if they'll let me do services on them, and etc. And what ends up happening from doing that is we devalue ourselves again, and we're kind of reprogramming and perpetuating this belief around, I'm unworthy of being paid. So we do not want to do that. Don't do that. It's one thing if you're in a space where you want to launch something and you're like, I need 5 people to just go through this, so I can get some data and feedback. Cool. But if you're somebody who's in a space where you're already struggling with your value and don't believe that you deserve to be paid for your services and to work with people, do not give stuff away for free. Don't. What you can do instead is ask for a donation. This is donation based. Donation based. I'm going to do a challenge. I'm going to do a healing. I'm going to do a class. I'm going to teach on this. I'm working on enhancing my gifts and abilities for energy healing. And I need 5 people. It's donation based. Here's the recommended donation amount. Okay? Because getting $5 is money. Okay? That is going to tell a part of your body and your beliefs and your programming in your mind, wait a second, someone is willing to pay to have this service. So if we're at that space and we're very unsure, start with the donation-based services. That is going to help recalibrate your mind around your worthiness to receive financial compensation for your services, and that you deserve to receive support in that way. Okay, we have to start somewhere. Also, making sure I'm being mindful of your pricing and all that. I've talked about that before in other videos, pricing or offer and stuff like that. That's all so important. Okay, this is why this is not just here's the secret. go do that. There's so much to having a successful business. And a huge part of it, I would say 80% of it, is mindset. It's embodiment. It's energetics. It's huge. It's a huge, huge part of this. Okay, so I'm going to wrap this up. If you go the route of doing donation-based services and start really trying to just show up, start putting feelers out, because the thing is, we have to start collecting data. Okay, in our businesses, we have to collect data. And so the more services we can do, the more people we can support, the more people we can talk to, the more data we collect, the more we can understand our audience, the more we can perfect our offer, the more we can make sure we're creating something that people want and that is going to really help them based on the feedback and the things that they have shared. So we collect data. Okay, so do challenges, do classes, do sessions at that aspect of donation based, and try to get in as many as you can as fast as you can. Try to collect as much data, because what that's going to do is it's really going to boost your confidence, your sense of worth in your own business. It's also going to start giving you social proof for yourself and for your audience. So as you continue to show up and continue to grow, you will then have testimonials. So you could say this. It's going to be donation based in exchange for a testimonial piece. That is part of this. I'm going to provide this service and I need a testimonial from you, and it's going to be come with whatever you can. Okay? Just start. This is someone who's like, really, really like, I'm so nervous to start this. Okay. This is the easiest way to get started. It feels the best in women's bodies who are really afraid to ask for payment for their services. So start it that way. But as you get the testimonials, you can then share the testimonials. You can also share your experiences. Be honest about where you are. Gosh, I got to do my first session today. It was amazing. I'll admit I went into it kind of nervous, but everything just flowed. Like, it was just this amazing experience, et cetera, et cetera. This is something like what the client had to say. So excited to do the next one. Still taking on, 5 more people for donation-based sessions so that I can continue to perfect my craft. Comment below if you want. Okay. So we're getting that social proof, and it's also allowing us to not feel like we're like faking it and being a fraud. Like we're being an imposter. We're being honest about where we are. I'm new, I'm figuring this out, but I still I need something. So can we energetically exchange in some way as I learn and as I grow and I get better? And then there we go. Everyone has to start somewhere. Okay. So the last piece of advice I'm going to give you with this video is we have to make sure that we're just releasing our expectations. And this goes back to, what did I say in the beginning, right? When we're trying to make something look a certain way because we want it to look that way. When it comes to our content, when it comes to, well, not a lot of people signed up for this workshop. I didn't get enough of this, or this happened. Y'all, I'll tell you, at this point in my business, I still have workshops that flop. People that just nobody registers for it. That still happens. Okay. But I still get high ticket clients. It just happens. It's just part of it. Sometimes you'll get huge outcomes and then nobody buys, or you'll have like 5 people and then all of them buy the next offer. So it's like, we just keep going, and we release all of these expectations, because again, when we put these expectations on it, or I had to learn this the hard way. I have to get 100 people registered for this workshop. And then math-wise, at least 20% should convert into this, and I'm going to do this, and I'm going to do that. Is it important to have goals? Absolutely. But if we're being so stringent to the point where we're putting all these expectations in place, and then when it doesn't happen, we sit back and feel like a failure, that is not helpful to us if we're trying to work on overcoming imposter syndrome. This is why just being in pure observation mode, say, hey, I'm collecting data. Okay, make that your mantra. I am collecting data. I'm going to put out feelers for this workshop and I want to see if people are interested. Not a whole lot of interest. So let me go back and collect data. What have people commented on most? What post have they liked the most? What kind of stuff have they been most interested in? Right? Let me create a workshop around that. See how that does. It's all about just having the data so that we can then take an educated step in the right direction. Okay? And then we just completely separate our sense of worth with that feedback. It's like a science experiment. We have to completely remove the connection. Oh, nobody was interested in this workshop, so now suddenly everyone hates me. What? It has nothing to do with that. This is to do with the algorithm, the audience. It wasn't a good fit. We have to check this stuff all the time. As we start growing a business, we check our sales funnels. That one didn't convert. Who? Let's tweak it. Let's find this. Let's do the higher ticket offer first and then the lower ticket offer. Let's do the lower ticket then higher. Like, what works better? Let me redo my copy. Let me switch this up. Let me shorten the copy. Let me lengthen the copy. Let me add less or more detail. Let me take out detail. We have to just keep tweaking, trying, changing. It is not math, but it's not about us. I'll just say that. It is its own thing. And so we just have to attach the expectation to the correct thing, which is just the data. Okay, the data is telling me this, so I need to make this adjustment. The data is telling me that, so I need to make this adjustment in my business. And no matter what the data says, I am still amazing, capable, worthy, and able to do what I do. Okay? So that's it. That's what I have for you with the imposter syndrome. I hope that this was helpful. If you learned something, share it with a friend. I'm sure they could learn something too. I would love to hear in the comments if you had any aha moments, what kind of came through for you. And I will see everyone on the next video. If you need support in healing the mindset, I would highly, highly, highly recommend that you apply for the Untangled program. We'll leave it there. All right. I will talk to you all soon. Thank you for being here, and namaste.